As you start to use and start to understand and depend on automation and sales and marketing automation throughout your business, a couple things begin to happen. You see your business differently. If you have a system that supports your customer journey, it creates a sense of predictability. You know the process that is happening. You know the flow. It goes from leads teleporting to a different milestone and becoming customers, and it sort of reveals the path that bridges that gap. Because automation supports that journey. It actually creates an intentional flow so that it's no longer hopscotching or ninja warrior jumping from milestone to milestone, and instead it is a frictionless and intentional journey crafted by you but supported by automation. What this does for us is it gives us new insight into our business. The lens I described is a layer of information that you may not previously have had access to if you didn't view your business as a journey, or if you didn't have systems supporting that journey, right? Because without the systems, it's less predictable and it's harder to harvest information that you can use. By having this process, by having clear benchmarks and milestones, not only does it make things easier for the customer, but it also gives us things that we can keep an eye on. And so what I'd like to do here is talk about some of the key metrics that you can measure as a result of marketing automation throughout your business. My name is Greg from the Keap Academy team. And if you visualize your customer journey as a start, a middle, and a finish, right? You might have more milestones, but let's use 3 for now. I like to anchor the point of purchase as that middle milestone. And the reason I do that is because it forces us to remember that there is a portion of our customer's journey after they have become a customer. The credit card swipe isn't the end of the road. It is actually just an inflection point where they go from being a prospect to being a customer. So we have their initial entry into our system, that's milestone number 1. We have their purchase, which is milestone number 3. And then we have whatever it is that you want them to do after they buy. That could be fill out a survey. It could be buy again. It could be join our membership community or attend an event that we're hosting, right? Or it could be to tell a friend and join our partner program. But that's up to you and your specific model. So I'm using 3 milestones here, but again, 3. You could have 5 or 7 or an even number of milestones. The number of milestones that you have in this journey isn't important. But what is important is what it makes available to us. So the first thing I would do is encourage you to examine the customer journey and find what those milestones are, because I promise you they're there. The difference is that you may not have called them that. You may not have thought about them as milestones, but there are key indicators that tell us our prospect is making progress. And so start to measure those, start to track those over time. Because if you say, great, I had 5 new leads this month, or 10 people fill out my form this month, or 100, right? In a vacuum, we don't know if that's good or bad. The only way we can tell is when we track it over time. And you say, great, I had 5, and I had 7 the next month, and then I had 1. Well, now you know that, that's well below where we should be. Or if you had, 100, and then 104, and then 96, and then 130, you know that, okay, it's trending up. That 130 is where something happened that moved it in the right way. But without the historical context, those numbers mean a lot less. So what I would recommend is tracking each of your milestones and then tracking them over time. So what you can see is that milestone number 1 is holding steady. Milestone number 2 is trending up. Those are both fine, but milestone number 3 is starting to trend down. So what this does for us as the small business owner or as the decision maker in your business is it gives us an area where we should focus. If you know that your different milestones are holding steady or even improving, but one of them is trending downward or several may be trending downward, you can look at sort of the rate and establish, well, this needs my attention or that needs my attention. Or maybe they all do, but this one is most important. And so that gives us confidence that the thing we are working on is the right thing for our business, is the right thing for us to put our attention on at this point. The next layer of this is recognizing that we have a gap between any of these 2 milestones. So the first thing we're talking about measuring is the actual success and conversion of these milestones. How many people made it from this milestone to this milestone, this milestone to this milestone in a given period of time? And once you know that, you can focus on the window in between, the pathway between milestone 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, between 3 and 4, etc. What does that experience look like? If we just look at this segment of the customer's journey, what actually takes place there? Because it was designed by someone, but that doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean that it's effective, and it doesn't mean that it is intentional. So somebody designed that at one point, but it's often worth revisiting because you have probably changed, your business has probably changed, and you want to make sure that the experience we are delivering is both strategic and intentional. That it is driving people toward that next milestone very specifically, and it's creating an experience that we can be proud of for our business. So you want to look at strategically, which touch points do I have in there? Do I have enough, right? If it normally takes people a month to make it from milestone to milestone 2, how much content and over how long do we have scheduled in that window? And if it's only 3 weeks worth of content, then you might need to add an additional few touch points to get to that 30-day marker. My normal recommendation is to have more planned for any individual window than you expect it to take. So if you plan for it to take 6 months, you want to have 7, 8, or 9 months worth of content lined up for those people. You're designing the bridge, so to speak, that paves that path. You're designing it for the people who need the most time, not necessarily for the people who move through it the quickest. So that's a quick little reminder for you. And then once you have established the flow and optimized what's happening in there to try to get as many people as possible to the next milestone, the final thing I would measure is how do we shrink that window, right? If you know I've got a system here in place, and if I put 100 leads in, 50 are going to make it to milestone 2, 25 are going to make it to milestone 3, and 5 are going to make it to milestone 4. That allows you to make predictions and forecast the direction your business is going. And if you like the path that it's on, if you like what it predicts for you, then all you have to do is ratchet up the traffic, put more ad spend into your machine, more people get into stage 1, and you know exactly, or at least you can predict to a certain extent, what portion of those people are going to make it to each of the subsequent milestones. And if you have that and it all works, that's great. Dial traffic into it, and that's the game we're playing. But the other thing you can do once you have optimized the individual conversion is work on shrinking the window between those stages. Is challenging. Great, we've got our system, it's working, its contacts are flowing all the way through it, but how do we expedite that process? And in some instances, you may not be able to. If you've got a 14-day free trial, people might want to take all 14 days, right? And you can't go faster through that 14-day window. They've got to have time for that content to be consumed. But there are some times that you can shrink a decision-making process to help people get to that next milestone by proactively addressing their concerns, by being clear about the expectation you're setting, anticipating the things that they may have objections to, and then using case studies or testimonials to diffuse those objections before they can even surface. Step number 1, measure those milestones. Step number 2, work on optimizing the conversion from stage to stage. And step number 3 is I would track the amount of time it takes people to get from milestone to milestone, and then work on shrinking that window wherever you can. So those are, at a high level, the metrics that I would recommend measuring as it pertains to your customer journey and the role that marketing automation plays throughout it. If you have your own metrics or suggestions or anything that I missed in this video, please feel free to leave comments below.